Numbers are the heartbeat of your bar. Ignore them, and you're running on luck. And luck doesn't pay the bills. Welcome. This is Bar Manager's Notebook. Today, we're diving in cost control, not to turn you into an accountant, but to give you the tools to make your bar profitable and sustainable. Cost control in our bar, it's very important, especially nowadays, really depending where you are, you might have different taxes or things like that, according to your state, according to your continent, and so on and so forth. But why it is important, it's because the profit line is getting always every year thinner because of decisions, social political situation, and things like that. So you really have to have the control of everything that happens in your venue. A bar that is run, I would say, decently or like in the average, it would have a profit between 6 to 10%. A bar that is poorly managed, you're looking to like 5 to 8. A bar that is even worsely managed probably is closer to almost zero, if not remission. And a bar that is really doing good, or at least is in a good chunk of profit, you're looking into between 10 to 15. And then obviously there's some bar that are outperforming and they might be a little bit higher than that, but they're all situational. Let's keep a bar well managed with a profit of between 10 to a 15% at the end of the year. That brings me to something important, which is like you need to have your tracking system. You need to have a tracking system of your wastage. You need to have a tracking system of, for example, over pour. It's extremely important. Know your number so that you'll be able to make educated choices rather than guesses. Let me give you a further example. If out of your sale of $50,000, you have a pour cost that is off of 2%, you're basically wasting $1,000 a month. Every single month, you're wasting $1,000 that could go to your pocket or be redistributed for something else or used for something else. And this is how important to have tracking systems. Number one, pour cost percentage. The formula is very easy. It's cost of goods sold divided sales times 100. Now, the different costs of pour cost are different according to what type of venue you are. If you're a restaurant, it will be one type. If you are a bar as independent, it will be another. If you are hotel chain, it will be different. If you're a luxury tier, those are different for each one of the different categories. I will try to give you an average number, so it's not like, a definitive that works for everybody. And that's because obviously into a hotel chain, you most likely contribute to way more larger structure somehow than, for example, an independent that maybe is just one restaurant or one bar. So as a, let's say, rule of thumb, let's use those numbers to give you just at least an indication, but you have to do obviously your research. You have to check with your finance team if you have one. If you don't, you have to check with the ownership. You have to do some market research. But let's start with this. Beer, wine, and spirits, they all have different percentage. So beer obviously is different if it's by bottle, can, or tap, but you're looking into a 20-25% maximum cost, even a little bit lower in certain instances. Again, really depends where you are. Keep in mind 20% to maximum 25. Wine, different if it's you buy the glass or if it's by the bottle. We're gonna start from by the glass. By the glass, it's a little bit more like, conservative. So you might look into like your 20, let's say 20, 25. You're gonna try to keep it, again, I would say between 18 to 25. And then if it's by the bottle, everything change. You're looking into obviously your cost of what you the purchase you made. You have to look, that will be divided by tiers. In my case, I like to work in different tiers. If I buy until a certain dollar amount and then a different dollar amount, and obviously I can go from, let's say, a 20, 25, I can go all the way until 45%. It really depends how aggressive I want to be on certain cost. There are certain bottles that are very specific and might be even breaking a little bit more than that 45. And again, Still small differences if you are an independent or not. Cocktail and spirits, you're looking in between 16, 17%, all the way could be until 24, 25. It really depends, again, what type of structure you are, what's your location, and things like that. Keep recipes and pouring under control. Use obviously, your jiggers. Make sure you have a system in place for that. Number 2, labor cost percentage. Formula, a little bit different in this case, is total labor divided the total sales times 100. You can see the pattern is very similar, but this is going to be the formula for the labor cost percentage. Again, your target here, it's about 25-35%. It's very different state by state in the US, different in Europe. I would say that's it's where the majority of chunk of money goes. And when you're in state like me in California, obviously you have way more meal penalty you have to be careful with. There's a lot of like those things, or like overtimes and things like those are all things that they're gonna weight into this section. So you need to be careful. It's very easy to get it out of control. So work together, as we said in the previous episode, with your forecast. Try to staff yourself correctly. And if you are into these numbers, you'll be good. I would say if you can be on 25, 27, definitely really good. Really, the margin should be 35. Otherwise, it's a bit risky. It means you're not scheduling correctly. You're forecasting wrong. And then third, it's prime cost. Formula, very easy. Labor cost plus the cost of goods sold. And that will give you the prime cost. This should be between 60 to 65% at max of the entire month. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. So 60, you're good. 65, I would say start really diving in and checking on your expenses, because if it's going slightly up, then it means that you're either overstuffed, you are overbuying, or you're undercharging. So you got to look into one of those three things. Here's some of my advice on how to control your numbers. Inventory discipline. Extremely important to have an inventory day set every month at least. If you don't do any inventory at all now, then I would suggest to start immediately. Start once a week for at least the next 2 months in order to start seeing already the differences and to keep it in check, and then move into a monthly inventory. That will help you massively to understand and to track immediately if there's anything that is going off track. Recipe costing. Cost everything. Wine, beer, cocktails, spirits. You need to make sure that each bottle, each cocktail is generating a number of profit, and cost everything till the garnish to the ice. Don't forget the ice, because a lot of people tend to forget because they're buying it outside and they forget to insert it into the cost of a recipe. Portion control. Extremely important. Use jiggers. If you don't use jigger, and there are companies they're great with that, like that they do free pouring, but they do a regular testing of their bartenders on the pouring of freehand pour and constant check. And if they're not up to standard, they will not go and make cocktails in the bar. They will have to keep training. So my advice is to make it easy. Probably use a jigger. That will help you. And don't trick with these jiggers, because sometimes I see bartender pouring halfway, pouring down, put it in. So kind of defeats the point sometimes. Anyway, order. Do the order in a smart way. Use par if you have some difficulties. Don't just go with the promotion that they're gonna give you, an extra case of tonic or an extra case of XYZ. And that's because sometimes it doesn't look like, but those number and dollars and euros or pounds, they add up at the end. Another advice, if you are into a structure that has a finance team, most likely you have a forecast of your projected buying of beverage for the month. Well, let's say that it's $100,000 for this month, then I would suggest you to divide it by the number of weeks. Let's say that it's 4, and you will know that you have $25,000 a week to spend into cost for your beverage. and you can keep track with that, so that it will definitely allow you to be always on track with your numbers. Definitely, if you haven't done it, try out. Menu engineering. You need to know which one are your items that they have the highest margin and the lowest. You need to run it constantly routinely, I would say, every month, every 3 months, so that you know which items are performing well, which are not performing, and maybe the one that we need to remove because they're high cost and not performing really well. And then at the end, a waste log. You need to control and track every single waste, spoilage, comps, or mistakes that happen. Definitely very important. Another tip I can give you is share those numbers with your staff. It's important that they are aware. The more they are aware, the more they're gonna be able to contribute and help you, because they will understand a little bit more. I gave an example not long ago to my team about a steak. Let's say that a prime steak is $40 a pound, and the steak is a pound, and we sell it for $80. If I don't pay attention to my guest, and by mistake I write the temperature that is wrong, I don't take the order correctly, and let's say the steak comes back and it's not possible to use anymore, and it's going to waste, then at that point I refire a new steak. I will still provide the service to the guest, but now my profit is zero on that steak. And to recover that mistake or that second extra I could have spent repeating the order, making sure it was correct, now I need to do 3 times or 4 times the effort to make the same profit I could have done with just selling the right steak at the right moment. Numbers don't lie. They're the quiet truth of your business. Ignore them and you'll be in trouble. Master them and you will be able to free yourself time for what's really, really fun: hospitality. In addition, I want to also give you a couple of names of some books that I think they're really useful on this topic, and they might help you discover new things and dive in deeper. For sure, I recommend you Round Building, great book that is talking from an operative perspective behind the bar, correct practices to implement into your bar. Jim Meehan, the Bartender's Manual, very useful all around, really gives you a lot of information that are useful into nowadays bar. And then 2 books on top of everyone else. They're really 2 of my favorite. One, unfortunately, is just in Italian, so if you speak Italian, if you're Italian, I definitely recommend you to buy this book. It's L'Ingegneria del Menù from Domenico Maura. It's a beautiful book about menu engineering. It tells you a lot about the history, but not only that, there's a lot of really important tips on how to do your costing, your engineering. It's a fantastic book. I highly recommend it, and I hope they will translate it soon. And the next one, which I found extremely useful and arrived in a moment in time of my life where I really needed those answers, The Cocktail Bar, Notes from an Owner and Operator from Cal Gray. Those books are both, you can find them probably online and different store. As always, I am not sponsored by any of them, so I literally telling you which one are my recommendation, my experience, and that pretty much it for today. So I hope, as always, that this episode was helpful to you, and if you liked it, please identification bell, give me a like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and drop me a comment below. Tell me what's your experience with the cost controlling, with the number, and tell me a little bit more about your experience. I'll see you in the next episode.